Picture the English coastline on a clear, moonlit night in the mid-1800s. The tide is full, and across the water, light reflects off the iconic white cliffs of Dover as they hang silently over a perfectly calm bay. The man looking out at this water is the Victorian poet Matthew Arnold. He is standing at a window with his companion, presumably his wife, and what begins as a quiet observation unfolds in real time as a dramatic monologue. Arnold writes in blank verse, unrhymed iambic pentameter. The lines pulse, mimicking a heartbeat for relaxed intimacy. He also uses enjambment, lines pouring into the next without pause, cascading downward to emulate the soothing ebb and flow of the ocean. Then he commands his wife to listen. The peaceful silence breaks. A harsh, grating roar rises from the beach below. He isn't hearing the gentle lapping of water anymore. He hears the violent physical drag of the ocean violently sucking head and pebbles back from the shoreline, only to fling them back up against the rocks with every single wave. That single, violent sound shatters the romantic illusion of the moonlit bay. For the speaker, that endless grinding marks the beginning of a deep, unsettling emotional descent. As he listens, the speaker's thoughts drift away from the English coast. He imagines the distant shores of the Aegean Sea, thousands of years past. There, the Greek tragic dramatist Sophocles stood on a beach and listened to the exact same oceanic roar. Sophocles heard a metaphor in the ocean's rhythm. He interpreted the endless, grinding waves as a physical reflection of the inescapable, disturbing cycle of human misery. This block diagram visualizes the layout of Arnold's 4 stanzas. Notice how irregular and jagged they become. Arnold breaks away from predictable verse to structurally mirror the speaker's growing psychological anxiety. Looking out the window, the speaker realizes that human suffering is an ancient, geographic constant. It is an eternal note of sadness that connects everyone who has ever lived. This brings Arnold to the central metaphor of the poem, the sea of faith. He imagines an era when religious certainty was at full tide, wrapping securely around the entire world like a protective embrace. But Arnold is writing in the mid-1800s. This was the peak of the Victorian era, defined by a rapid, pervasive explosion of scientific discovery. Charles Darwin and early geologists were publishing theories that directly contradicted biblical timelines. This massive influx of scientific knowledge actively eroded the public's traditional Christian faith and dismantled centuries of religious certainty. The sea of faith is no longer full. Now Arnold can only hear its long, melancholy roar retreating. And as the comfort of belief pulls away, it leaves behind a desolate landscape of naked shingles and barren stone. The loss of this universal faith meant that modern humanity was suddenly spiritually exposed. People were left shivering in a cold reality of doubt and existential despair. The speaker looks back at the beautiful, moonlit world outside his window and realizes it is a complete illusion. Despite its outward beauty, he sees a reality entirely devoid of joy, peace, or true knowledge. The imagery reaches a terrifying climax. He envisions humanity trapped on a darkling plain, a chaotic, fog-filled battlefield where ignorant armies clash blindly in the night, fighting hopelessly without any real purpose. Facing this overwhelming global void, the speaker pivots abruptly. He turns his attention away from the window, back to the intimate space of the room, and desperately pleads with his wife. "Ah, love, let us be true to one another." The philosophical conclusion here is stark. When vast societal truths dissolve and massive religious structures collapse, we cannot rely on the outside world for meaning. Interpersonal love becomes the final, solitary anchor left to hold on to. Over a century and a half later, Dover Beach remains profoundly relevant. In a chaotic, rapidly modernizing world stripped of inherent meaning, our only true defense is the genuine connection we build